action. Is this fake? Is this disinfo? What am I looking at? Gunny?
Yeah, David, it could be genuine, but there's a thing about OSINT. So the OSINT community, right? All these idiots, you go, yeah, man, I'm like the OSINT community. I know things. Right, you got to remember a couple of things. Half of these whoppers are clueless, and they literally are clueless. And what they do is they feed off each other, media aggregators, that kind of thing. They will remove stuff when they get it wrong. They will triumphantly retweet "I told you so, I told you so," because they will manage to convince themselves. And a stop clock is right twice a day, and you'll never hear the fucking end of it. And it's a battle for likes and followers. Okay, so when you see OSINT, and especially when you see people who parade like their OSINT credentials, it's always worth doing a bit of a dive in to see what their past is. If someone's an ex-combat medic or a fast jet pilot or a submariner or something like that, or former intelligence officer, happy days. All right. If someone spent 25 years in university with a marker pen up his ass studying warfare, yeah, all right. And if actually they drive combine harvesters for a living, and the closest they've got to uniform is wearing one in school, but they still claim that they're OSINT, yeah, jog on, mate, not interested. So today was quite instructive. So what you had is these photos popped up, and immediately the usual suspects, Julian, yeah, whopper, kind of jumped on it and went, oh my God, this is absolutely terrible. This is a company's worth of armoured engineering vehicles that have been zapped. Now, when I see stuff like this, same as when I see footage of uncrewed surface vessels blowing up near Russian ships, or radar satellite reconnaissance photographs of holes in radomes in Crimea, all that kind of thing, I always like to kind of sit back because I'm not in a rush. I don't care how many of you follow me. I'm really not bothered at all, to be honest. I'm just here for shits and giggles and to occupy my brain when I'm at work because it's a bit dull here at the moment. Have a look at the data, right? Have a look at the photos. So some of the things that first struck me. People refer to a video, and this video is touted as the road of death to Zaporizhzhia. All right, sounds very dramatic, doesn't it? So clearly, that video straight away with this tag, "The Road of Death," has an underlying narrative to it, i.e., the Ukrainians are dying in droves on this road. So I had a quick look at that. I'm going to have a look at the photos, and something struck me. The first thing that struck me was the wood to the left, the copse, has a trench line system in it. So they ran parallel to Russian field fortifications. It's a little bit odd. Now, all the leaves have gone from there, and if you run down that copse, actually the trees are in leaf. So it's been hit by artillery. But what you can also tell is from the tree stumps, if you don't stare at it, but if you quickly look at it, you get the feeling that the tree stumps are in rank. Do you know what I mean? They're in line, which it's not beyond the realms of possibility. In the original video, there's one what looks like one swept lane. Now, swept lanes don't live forever because obviously you get tracked vehicles, you get heavy wheeled vehicles, and eventually what happens is the ruts get too deep, it gets too boggy, too muddy, and you might have to clear another one. But it looks pretty dry, and in the video, there's what looks like maybe one or two Bradleys, something like that. One of them's certainly burning, and they're transiting up one lane. Now, in these photographs, there's one lane that suddenly stops for no reason, which could have been the mine-clearing vehicle stopped, something happened, maybe an ambush up ahead, and he backed up. But he backed up so perfectly, he really did follow in the tracks. Again, that's not beyond the realms of possibility, but just to stop and then suddenly back up when the video is from 24, 48, 72 hours before, when clearly the Ukrainians made their way up this feature, what happened that suddenly whatever was sweeping a lane stopped and then backed up? But, you just mark that one down. The second one is the main lane The vehicles were probably in echelon, but then for some reason, another mine clearing vehicle pulled out and ran alongside the first one. Now, the leading one might have struck a mine, which would say to me maybe it was artillery delivered minefield. That could happen. They thought that that lane was clear, and then the Russians did some artillery delivered munitions on it, and they decided it needed sweeping again. But as far as I know, if a lead vehicle that's ploughing mines runs onto a mine anyway, and then the follow-up vehicle pulled up directly alongside and ran onto a mine, you could put it down to bad drills, I think. Or would you stop, probably, and think about abandoning the lead vehicle for the moment and then maybe pulling back a little bit and reconsidering your options? But I'm not an armour guy, so I don't know about that. But if you look further down, where the grass finishes, you get a sudden descent into what looks like a shallow type of canyon. And there are two vehicles there, and they look like civvy cars. Now, people have rightfully pointed out, well, the Ukrainians use technicals, which they do. But you don't use technicals if you're in the middle of a mine clearing operation. And those vehicles, if other mine clearing vehicles or armored vehicles had passed before, they would have been pushed out the way, because obviously they're partially blocking this canyon. So looking at it, and one looks like it might have been slightly crushed, but I would have expected them to be kind of shoved out the way. Then you got the third lane, which is off to the right, which is very odd, because if you look at the other two lanes, yeah, they look like they've got the triple prong mine clearing attachment that's been used to, dig into the earth and overturn it and kind of push and expose mines away. But this one's got, as David said, it's got a strip of green. Now, that's not a very good way of clearing mines, because mines don't just work on pressure, they can be magnetic as well. So essentially you're leaving a long strip of uncleared ground. And what's at the bottom of it? It's an armoured recovery vehicle. It's not a mine clearing vehicle. It's not an armoured engineers vehicle. It's an armoured engineers vehicle, but it's a recovery vehicle based on a Leopard 1. The running gear looks right, and it's got the crane, so happy with that. But if he's run onto a mine and he's slewed off to the left because the right side running gear looks intact, why is the engine on fire? Because that's not where the mine would have gone off. The mine would have gone off on the track. So the vehicle looks superficially intact apart from a small fire. Now, just remember, there was a picture of a Leopard 24 hours ago with a square fire on it. So, yeah. Okay. So, you have a look at all of these things and you think, well, this is a piece of ground that was taken yesterday, day before. We know that because there's footage of the Ukrainians running up there. And for some reason, the Ukrainians decided to run 2, maybe 3 mine swept lanes. So using the original one, but then running one left and right as well. The one to the left didn't get finished at all. The vehicle backed up. And the one to the right was done with an armoured recovery vehicle. Why would an armoured recovery vehicle be leading? It's not the best bit of kit in the world to be doing it. Looked at the 2 Leopards. Don't know. Again, 2 Leopards there. 2 Leopard 2s there, but mine clearing vehicles running up in front, I suppose, yeah, doing Overwatch, something like that. But if you look right in the distance, there's what appears to be another civilian car just in the dip, in a terrain dip. And then, of course, you've got the soil. So I did a little bit of archaeology, got a pass in it somehow. You can get different colour types of soil. So underlying watercourses, archaeological features, which might retain water and give you a slightly different kind of soil colour because they retain moisture more. Have a look at the difference in the soil being overturned. Chalk and cheese. It could almost be 2 different types of soil. And the ruts on the right hand side are really deep. Really deep. Now that might be because of the way the camera is angled. So as the earth is being turned over, lots of earth is being pushed outwards and it's kind of creating a breastwork either side of the main track. But then an armoured recovery vehicle wouldn't do that because at best they only carry a dozer blade at the front. So it wasn't a mine clearing vehicle. So if it ran onto a mine, it ran onto a mine after that swept lane had been created by a proper dedicated vehicle. So that's the way to kind of do it. And I think that's something that the OSINT community is missing. You've got the usual suspects, often with no military background at all, who will see it, doom tweet, and then, you know, they'll stick a hand up their own asses and get all upset when you point out, well, maybe you should be asking this kind of question and that kind of question. You'll get a lot of people saying, well, it's copium. Well, not really, because I still personally think those first photographs of those Bradleys and Leopards where they all end up in line and they had to do an evac, I still think that was unprofessional, to be honest with you. I think something catastrophically went wrong there. I'm happy to say it. I think they fucked up. And they lost vehicles. Doesn't sound like they lost too many people or very few. That's great news. Not something that we want to see repeated. So it's not copium. You've just got to look at all of this objectively. And as has been said here, the Ukrainian upset is going to be drum tight. And that leaves a social media window of opportunity open for the Russians because there's going to be very little coming out to contradict it. Apart from reported gains here and there, which will instantly be dismissed as you know Ukrainian propaganda anyway. So, look, just if you see stuff, just pause, wait, maybe have a look at it if you get 10 minutes off, and just sort of scratch your head a little bit and do a little bit of assessment. You don't have to be T-farms to do this kind of thing. You don't have to be naval warfare to have a look at a drone strike on a ship or. You know, maybe we'll see a picture of a frigate burning. Just ask yourself some questions and go, you know, Russians lie. Their photoshopping and their sort of CGI isn't particularly subtle and good. What here doesn't look right to me? And then you'll start to be able to look at stuff a little bit more objectively. And you certainly won't be one of them ones to jump on the bandwagon straight away at every bad-looking photograph and start pulling your hair out, because I think there are some OSINT accounts at the moment that are doing themselves no favours at all. One, because they're not pausing 5 marching paces to look at it, and two, they're getting a massive sad on when anyone questions them. So, yeah, you just tell and have a look and just think carefully about who you follow on this kind of thing, and certainly come up on the space. We really need an armoured engineer. Or a tanker, something like that. Maybe Bearded's knocking around if he's not gardening or something. But yeah, to me, it just looked, not sure about it.
Well, I don't think it's about not sure, Gunny. It is, but as I said, so the left-hand channel. Firstly, no one clears a windy lane, right? It'll be a straight line. That ground's been compacted. Tracked vehicles don't do that. The thing to remember is when a tracked vehicle turns, it's like stubbing a cigarette out with your foot, right? That digs up the track. There is no evidence of that, and yet apparently 3 really heavy tracked vehicles went over it. No, it's just all nonsense. You get a and the two mine clearing vehicles, for which firstly they're mine clearing and they have their blades down and the rest of it. So how did they actually get hit? Right, there's that other question. But they've got 3 of these things and there's no sign of that ground being dug up. Why was that there? And let's look at the straight one as well. These things have got plows on them. Why didn't they just plow the middle channel?